Hello and welcome to Following On. I'm Jon Norman alongside George Dobell from the Cricket.com. We're back from Sri Lanka and it is freezing here at Headingley, where we've turned up to speak to the new England white ball captain, Harry Brook. We've just spoken to him and you will be able to watch that interview and hear it very, very shortly. First things first, Harry's just to the left of us, so we can still say the truth. I think it's the right call. I'm not sure that there were any other options for England that,
There were loads of options.
Tell me.
But, there were all sorts of people.
Go on. Ben Stokes?
Absolutely.
That wouldn't have been the right option, though,
Well, it would have been an option. I'm just saying there are other options.
Okay. There wouldn't have been any better options.
No, I agree with
Correct?
that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Of course, there's always options in life, kids.
But there were other options, and I was just thinking when he was talking about potential vice captains, it sounded just like Ben Duckett, his qualities, didn't it? So there are always options, but I think this is the least bad option.
Yeah, no, I think we're agreeing.
Somehow. I think the only concern is the relentless nature of the schedule and how much burden that puts on someone who's involved in all three formats. But if you're really good, that's not such a bad thing.
Well, he is really good in red ball cricket. Would you say the jury's out slightly on white ball cricket? Does the numbers would back that up as a statement?
Well, I don't think he's looking over his shoulder for selection, no. But if you mean, has he optimised his talent in those formats? No, not yet, not completely. I think in Test cricket he's rated number 2 in the world on averaging 58 or something.
Yeah.
And in T20 it might even be under 30. But if you come in the middle lower order, it's a tough gig and you've got to be a bit careful judging by those stats. But clearly he's one of England's best players in all formats. I don't think anyone would dispute that.
No.
And I think given time he'll nail them. The question is whether this puts too much of a burden on a player who's still developing in those formats, and that is a legit concern, which is why there was some delay probably over the appointment. But as I say, I think it's probably the least bad. But I think Ben Stokes would have been a completely reasonable appointment. You're just worried about his fitness, aren't you? And they've got data that we don't on that. Look, there were other options. My worry is if you look at the winter, for example, England go to Ireland in September. They have a couple of weeks off. Then they go to New Zealand.
Live and exclusive on talkSPORT.
Yeah, 6 limited overs games. Then they have the Ashes for a couple of months.
Not live and exclusive on talkSPORT.
And then so the Ashes finishes on something like the 10th of January. And they're playing in Sri Lanka in January. 6 games.
And then,
which is a warm-up, really, to the next T20 World Cup, which is in Sri Lanka and India in February and March. Which means that if you're playing it all, which Harry Brook pretty much will be, you're basically away for 6 months. There may be a week or 10 days in there somewhere. But, if you throw in international travel, it's not a rest. It's not. It doesn't matter if you're first or business or a space shuttle. It's tiring and mentally draining, just with all the responsibility and expectation and adrenaline. And so there's an awful lot on his shoulders, and that's the only worry. But I'm sure they'll look after him, and there's no reason why he couldn't make a success of it. Certainly from a playing perspective, he's absolutely good enough. But there are a lot of structural problems within English cricket that he can't control. Like that ridiculous schedule. That's a self-defeating schedule. And it doesn't matter who they appoint to that. It's a massive challenge and makes the job so much more difficult, as does the fact that anyone they pick from the county game might not have played a whole lot of 50-over cricket, including him.
Absolutely. What constitutes success, do you think, for Harry Brook over the next 2 years? Can't just be based on winning the 2 ICC events that fall in that time. Is that it? You just have to win both? That's it? Would
that not be enough for you?
No, of course it would. But what I'm saying is if he doesn't reach those heights...
Well, let's start with that, eh? If they win those...
Well, of course that's success.
Well, Matthew Mott was sacked a few months or a year or so after winning a T20 World Cup. So, we live in interesting times.
How long? It was a good year or so after, wasn't it?
There was a time when a World Cup would see you through more than a year.
Yeah, but you get a World Cup every year these days.
Point being, if he does well in the T20 World Cups, I think people will turn a blind eye if they don't do so well in a bilateral tournament against Ireland. Or a bilateral series, rather. So, let's start with that. Look, we know what the barometers are for English cricket. It's winning the Ashes and winning global tournaments.
We're not particularly good at either, really, are we?
Well, we had a little period there where they won a couple of World Cups. at the end of 2022, England had just become the first men's team to hold the T20 and ODI World Cups. So that's a pretty great achievement. But things can change pretty quickly, can't they? And as I say, not everything is within his remit. So you asked me what success looks like for him. Firstly, his day job is scoring runs and winning games with the bat. He's very, very capable of that. Any sign that the captaincy is compromising that would be a concern, and that's something that you would look at straight away. And also you'd want to see some improvement from England. And yes, there is nuance there. It's not black and white. It's not just about winning series. But if they get, beaten like a snare drum as they have been this year so far, then that would be a concern.
Let's hear from Harry Brook. I caught up with him here at chilly Headingley a few moments ago. Harry, congratulations, England captain. That must be, it must just still sound so amazing, really. It must have been a proud moment when you got the call.
Yeah, it's a very proud moment, and I'm very honoured to take this side forward. Yeah, my family are very happy, and everybody's very proud of me back home.
talkSPORT were in New Zealand. We've covered a lot of your cricket over the last couple of years. Those innings at Christchurch and Wellington will live long in the memory. Is that how you're going to go about your game, trying to lead from the front with runs coming from the bat? Or is there going to be another side to Harry Brook, England captain?
No, yeah, that's ideal. If I'm scoring runs, that's pretty good for the side, I think. And and hopefully I can lead from the front on and off the pitch.
What was it like entering the England team for the first time? Because you, of course, are going to have to be the one that tries to bring some players through now. You know, were you immediately at ease in your surroundings? Is it something that came comfortably? How can you foresee dealing with players that might be struggling under the pressure?
Yeah, it's your first time in an England dressing room is a little bit daunting. You got the play. You sat in your corner or wherever you sat, and you look over to the side. There's Ben Stokes, Johnny Bairstow, Joe Root, who I'd played with a little bit here, but didn't really know them that well. But no, we're going to try and create a really a relaxed environment, and enjoyable environment, and make it as fun as possible.
That sounds like Brendan McCullum, of course, coach that you're very familiar with. What was the fact that he took over the white ball job a few months back? Do you think that was kind of a key part in you deciding that, yep, you can do this?
I get on really well with Baz, and I have done over the last two and a half years, and I think he's an amazing bloke to work alongside, and I'm sure he'll help me along the way.
What about the way you're going to be approaching cricket now? Because we've spoken to you before games. You know, we have hours to fill, and the journalists have got thousands of pages to print. You know, we may overcomplicate things on occasion. And when we've spoken to you before games, you've been very much, well, I'll kind of just see how it's playing when I get there and adapt to the circumstances and the pitch and the whatever. Are you going to change your approach now? You're going to be, studying the pitch a little bit more in depth, maybe taking some advice on what to do if you win the toss, that kind of thing? Or does it just come naturally to you?
Yeah, I think that just comes naturally, really. I think you have a look at the wicket before, and I'm no cricket pitch connoisseur or whatever you call it, but most of the time in white ball cricket, they're good wickets. You very rarely get a shocking pitch in white ball cricket, so I think we just got to go out there and nail the way that we want to play, and just think about ourselves for now.
What about a message to some of those players that are playing county cricket or white ball cricket on the county circuit who haven't had that call up yet, haven't had that call? If you were to give a message to them, what kind of person or brand of cricket are you looking for? Or is it just about scoring runs, taking wickets, and if you do that, you get a call up?
I think I want aggressive players, I want competitive players, and I want people that are 100% committed to what we're trying to achieve, which with the bat is to go out there, put the best bowlers under pressure from their best balls, look to dominate them, be able to manipulate the field throughout the innings and score big runs, score match-winning contributions. As a bowler, I want them to be able to work towards different modes of dismissal for different batters and have a plan for different batters to be able to get them out. And I want them to be able to bowl to any field, any situation, any dimension, and have the white ball skills that most bowlers require these days.
Have you spoken to Joss at all since the news came through? I mean, I imagine one of the big things for you is to get him back scoring runs in the way that we saw, for much of his career, but maybe just dropped off a touch towards the last year or so of his captaincy.
Yeah, he started very well in the IPL as well, so yeah, hopefully we can get him to top form and playing the way he does, because he's unstoppable when he's playing well.
And what about your Yorkshire teammates? Because you can hear some of them shouting out words of encouragement from the dressing room. I mean,
sure
are you
about
suddenly the most popular man in the dressing room? They know if they score runs or take wickets in front of you, they might jump to the front of the queue.
Yeah, there's no player who's not available for selection really. So I think you just got to go out there and do what I've said in them last 3 comments, and try and prove your point and get in the side.
Brilliant stuff. Well, congratulations and good luck.
Thank you.
Joss Buttler, where are we with where he's at? As Harry said, he's been scoring runs in the IPL. He wasn't scoring a lot of runs for England. Butler's going to be a huge part of whether the first year or 2 of Harry Brook's captaincy is a success, you'd think. He plays such a critical role, and if he can come back and score the kind of runs at the speeds that he has done for so many years, you'd say that would be a huge plus for Brook, and it would certainly help help England's cause, wouldn't it?
Yes, Joss Buttler's reputation as a great of English cricket, limited overs cricket, I guess, is absolutely assured.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know, there's never a time when I see that clip of the last moments of the 2019 final again when I don't think, oh my God, he's got so much to do. And he made it look simple. And that's just his keeping, of course. I don't know that he was coming into bat in the right place, but I think there's nothing more tiring than disappointment. And increasingly he looked like a very disappointed and somewhat grumpy fella. Not maybe the best version of himself, and I think that was because he cared so much. I think there's a lot of good in there, and he was passionate to see England do well, and it hurt desperately to see it all slipping through his fingers and to have this really super side become mediocre, I suppose. Can he recover his best form? Well, we'll see, won't we? I actually don't think he's as irreplaceable as he was. He's obviously, as I say, been one of England's great players, but there are quite a lot of good keeper batters out there. I think they missed a trick with not having him keep him more, because I think he's a better keeper than other options. Even in the T20 World Cup, I don't even remember, in the Caribbean, he took some outrageous catches. I think we were in St Lucia. It's worth having a look. A run out and a catch in that game, which were absolutely exceptional. And he probably should be batting higher up the order. I thought that England's plans for the Champions Trophy were not very good, with Jamie Smith at 3 as well. So these are all things they could look at. But what you'd want Joss to do is be refreshed, be relaxed, and just enjoy it without the burden on his shoulders. We know he's good enough. I'm sure he knows he's good enough. But it's not the end of the world if they move on, because there are other good players. I still think people like, let's pick a name at random, Jordan Cox. I still think he could have a future at that level. Very, very good strikers of the ball out there. That's kind of the least of England's problems, actually.
One of England's problems is getting a little bit of variety possibly into their attack, and I suppose hopefully one of the key things that might come from this is that Brendan McCullum is going to be across both white ball and red ball tours, or sides rather. It might be a little bit more joined up thinking, do you think? Well,
I think it was joined up before. I just think that the conclusions were wrong. So they decided they wanted people, the best players, were probably the best players across formats, and I'm not sure that's very reasonable or even correct. We've seen Gus Atkinson, for example, make a storming start to his Test career and a much less impressive start to his white ball career. And actually, a lot of players might benefit from the freshness of being used in one format or the other. So I think that might apply to McCullum as well. I mean, we talk about that schedule that's coming up in the winter. Well, it applies to him as well, doesn't it? He's going to be there for all of it, and he's got to keep his messaging fresh. He's got to keep upbeat. I think that's quite difficult for what it's worth. But yeah, he and Key, I suppose, made the decisions to go with a pace attack and also a right arm pace attack. Now, I think that was a bit naive. And let's not be wise after the event. We did say so at the time. Ideally, you want some left armers, and ideally you want some you want some variety in the attack. And there are left armers out there. So and there are skillful fast medium bowlers out there as well. So there are options, but they might have to be a bit more sophisticated in the way they think about it, not just think pace is the way to go. And there are going to be options, aren't there? Because we know Mark Wood's not going to be available for quite a long time. So there are chances now to look at other people.
Brilliant stuff. George, thank you.
Pleasure as ever.
And thank you for watching Following On.